main sects of Tibetan Buddhism. And the practice that we do is basic Buddhist meditation practice, but there are two strains of it. One's called Shamatha practice, which is really the core practice, and it literally means abiding in peace or dwelling in peace, developing peace in your mind. Although that's more of a byproduct of the practice, peace, and one doesn't strive for peace, and in fact that's self-contradictory. You strive for peace, and you're not peaceful. But really the point of the practice has to do with developing a mind that can focus one-pointedly on an object, and you begin to see the difference between monkey mind, the mind that's always churning out thoughts, and a mind that's calm and awake and aware. Vipashyana is the other main strand of Buddhist meditation, and rather than being focused on an object, Vipashyana is very wide. It's like you could be aware of the whole room, so you sort of have panoramic awareness, peripheral vision. And this is really the main practice in Buddhism. And my teacher and the teacher of one or two other people in this room taught a practice for Americans, come and sit, that is kind of a hybrid. It's a mix of those two coming together. So we call it Shamatha / Vipashyana meditation. So I'm going to start with just the basic instruction, which is always good to hear. And posture. The main point of posture is to have an erect back. And we're getting more people coming. So the main point of posture is to have an erect spine. That might be a little high for you. I'm not sure. And it's fine to be sitting in a chair. It's fine to be sitting on the floor, on a cushion. Either way. The cushion is preferable, but if you have some physical issues, then you might be sitting in a chair, or you might just be sitting in a chair because that's what happens to be around. Either way, the idea is that you have a straight back. It's kind of like, your mind tends to follow your body a bit, and if you sit like this, it looks kind of sad and complainatory, But if you sit like this, you're really alert and erect, and you're ready for anything. And the mind follows the body to some degree, and it's very helpful. Later, in more advanced Buddhist practices, it's important to have a straight spine because the energy in the body flows more freely than if you're hunched over. In this regard, having a straight spine, one of the things that you might watch is that you want your knees to be no higher than your hips, and preferably a little lower. The reason being, and you could be a little higher. Maybe we could give, what's your name? Omar. Good name. Huh? If the cure for see, when you have your knees a little higher than your hips, then you feel like you're falling back. It tends to tilt you back. So then you tend to reach forward around your knees to pull yourself forward, and it produces tension. And the cure for it is to simply get your butt up higher, get more cushion underneath it. Now, if you're sitting in a chair, really the ideal is that you're not using the back of the chair, but that you're sitting in a way that allows you to be straight. But it's hard to do in a chair. And so I'm going to give anybody who wants it, this is a cushion that helps you do that. Wedge-shaped cushion, when you use it in a chair, it tilts your hips forward a bit and allows you to sit with an erect spine without having to use the back of the chair. So, sometime we can do a posture clinic, and for those people who might get some help with it. And also it allows you to sit more comfortably and for longer periods of time when you have good meditation posture. I'm going to go through it just briefly. We'll do a kind of a body scan. You want to be relaxed and at ease and erect and alert, all of that. So you might check your legs first. There shouldn't be any tension there, but if there is, do whatever you need to do to relax it. A place we often get tension is in our shoulders. So, you can just sort of move them around and shake them and make sure they're nice and loose. And then in the neck. The neck often, when I start to meditate, I just do this and I can hear it cracking and releasing tension. We meditate, this is a bit different perhaps for some of you, but we meditate with the eyes open. This is really classic Buddhist practice, especially having to do with Vipashyana. And your eyes are open and your gaze is directed down at the ground at about a 45-degree angle, more or less. And your gaze is natural. You don't go swimmy. You don't go hyper-focused. You just have a very relaxed, natural gaze. And then you might check your face, your forehead, for tension. And if there is any, relax it. And your eyes, and relax them. And your cheeks and mouth. If there's any tension there, you can relax it. The top of your head, the crown, the fontanelle, should be aimed kind of up at the ceiling. So your chin is just slightly tucked. And this helps you have a very straight spine. Your hands, you can see, you just rest them on your thighs. Very simple. Simplicity is really the guideline in this posture. Because what we're doing is we're disposing of our body in a way that is relaxed, alert, cheerful, so that we can work on our minds. Any questions about posture at this point before we go on to the next stage of the instruction? Sometimes people have been meditating with their eyes closed, and that's fine. That's very much part of the Hindu tradition, and it's also part of the beginning Buddhist tradition with Shamatha. But we're sort of jumping ahead a little bit. And one of the reasons, there are a number, that we meditate with the eyes open is that we're beginning to develop our awareness of our lives in the present, and it's an awareness that you can take out onto the street. So by having our eyes open as we practice on the cushion, we're just getting ready to take that same alertness and awakeness off the cushion and out into the street. So now, your awareness. Be aware of the room, the space of this room, and this present moment. You just let your mind relax. Relax into this space that we're in right here. It can encompass anything and everything, but it's utterly effortless. You don't have to focus it on anything. You're just here. And there are lots of things that will present themselves to your awareness. Objects of sight, sound, like this voice, physical sensations, your body. You won't get much taste or smell in this room particularly. But then there will be mental events. These are called the 6 knowables. And with your mind relaxed in the space of this room, these 6 knowables come and go. 1 minute you're aware of the back of the person sitting in front of you, or of the color of the floor. The next of these sounds. In another instant, you're aware of some aspect of your body. And then there will be thoughts and emotions, mental events that come and go. And your mind is just very relaxed right here, in this space of this room, at this time, And these different phenomena come and go. So let's just do that for a minute. Just relax in this space. Thoughts will come and take your mind away. And then the sound of my voice or whatever, something that happens, will bring you back. And that's fine. And now we're going to use something, the breath, to help us come back to the present. So with our minds just relaxed in this space, in this present room, present moment, we never leave this. And we are aware of the breath as it comes up through our torso, our mouth, our nose. It exits our nostrils. You can feel it as it leaves your nostrils. And it goes out into the room, and you follow it. You see it going out. You imagine it going out like a line going out into the space, dissolving into the space as it goes. And it goes out all the way, the out-breath. And then at the end, there's just a pause. And then the breath comes up again through your torso and your throat and your nose, and you can feel it as it exits your nostrils. And it goes out like a line drawn on a piece of paper, or like a line drawn on water, dissolving as it goes out, until it's all the way out, and then you just let go. And you're right here. So we're here in the space, and in the middle of it, the breath comes up, exits the nostrils, goes out into the space like a line dissolving, and then just let go. Let's just do that for a minute or so. So if you're thinking, just come back to this space, and the breath in the middle of it, coming up, exiting your nose, your nostrils, going out into the space, making a line as it goes out, and dissolving into the space. And at the end of the out-breath, there's just a gap. You just let go. And you pause for a second. And then the breath goes out again. The in-breath is just a turning point for the out-breath. You don't have to do anything with it. There's a constant, the practice is the breath coming up, going out, dissolving, and we're just right here. And the breath comes up, exits the nostrils, goes out into this space of this room like a line drawn on paper, dissolves, and there's just this. Breath comes up, goes out, dissolves, and you just let go. and repeat. Any questions about this technique so far? There's one last piece of instruction. Complaints? Anything?
I want to just maybe make a comment. When I was, a lot of times when I first started to meditate, I would sit cross-legged. So like, my legs resting on my shin, on my heel or something like that. And I found, talking to people, teaching them recently, that a lot of times that creates like pressure points and a lot of times I'll find my people fall asleep. So certain, you can see Mike over here and then myself. I like to do this, what is I think the Zen novice posture, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And what you're doing is trying to actually avoid the pressure points by putting your shins on the floor. And that I think I find very helpful in sitting longer periods of time without having to move and with keeping the blood flowing. So if you're able to do that, I think that's and you're sitting, that's oftentimes preferable to actually like cross-legged. So.
Mm-hmm. But each person is different too. There are a lot of people doing this posture in this room, this Zen novice posture. It's great, and it's a very comfortable posture. Yes.
When I am in the normal situation outside in the street, I am not aware of my breathing. It goes by itself. But when we talk about the respiration, I become aware. When I'm here and we talk about breathing in, I become aware of my respiration, my breathing.
Mm-hmm.
So that I tend to maybe want to control it a bit, or maybe make it deeper, or inhaling or exhaling. What should be the idea of the best? Try to forget about it, or just let it go by itself?
Let it go by itself.
No.
Yeah. Just let it be natural. And if you've just climbed some stairs, your breathing might be rapid. That's fine. After you've sat for a while, 10, 15 minutes, your breathing will probably slow down and get shallow. That's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, you just let it be whatever it's going to be. I mean, when you're out on the street, certainly, if you're practicing awareness, you're not watching your breath. You could have a serious accident that way. Why? Because your attention's split. But in here, we're using the breath to kind of pull us back out of thought and into the present moment. It's just like a handle. I think of it as like, in a car, and you reach up and there's a handle that helps you get out of the car. You can pull on it. We're sort of using the breath that way to pull us back into the present moment in our technique here. But ultimately, it's terrific practice to just sit here and rest your mind in the present moment of this space. That's pure Vipashyana practice. That's called pure awareness practice. And then you're really preparing to practice in your daily life, in every situation. Because you can do this anywhere, this awareness here.
I found that sometimes I've got a long journey on the subway and I can meditate right there.
You can meditate, yeah.
On the subway.
That's terrific practice.
Everything's going off around me, and I can get I come out a bit, and I've got a bit of a vibration going down.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite nice to see things that I wouldn't see before, and it, just seems a bit warmer in that space.
Mm-hmm. So I'm having trouble hearing you, I'm sorry.
So they seem a bit warmer in that space that I'm in.
Yeah. You just keep coming back, and relaxing, without any goal or preconception. Yeah, and it's much harder to do it in daily life on the subway, because there's so many triggers. Somebody walks by and you say, "Oh, that's an interesting looking person," and your mind goes off on that story, for a while. But when we're sitting at home, there is less stimulation, and so less triggers to trigger us into thought. That brings me to the last piece of the instruction, which has to do with working with mental events that have come up. I would imagine you might have had a few during the practice so far. And there are thoughts, there are emotions. We just regard emotions as bigger, heavier thoughts. A thought might be, what's for dinner? And an emotion might be, I'm really angry at somebody. But they're just all mental events. And they come up and they pass away. And the basic idea is that you give up ambition when you sit down on the cushion of any kind. You're giving up the ambition to be a good meditator. If you have the ambition to be a good meditator, then you'll be thinking about not having thoughts. That's a good one. That's very circular and hopeless. So the idea is you just see them. I always like what that top man up there, he was a great teacher in the 20th century. His name was Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche. And he said that you regard thoughts as you would scenery passing by the window of your train. You're sitting on the train, the scenery's going by. It has little or no effect on you, and you have no effect on it. And that's the way you treat your thoughts. You just see them. So awareness is the key. Just be aware. You don't have to do anything with them. You don't have to get rid of them. You just see them. And as soon as you see that you're thinking, then you've woken up again. It may only be for a split second, or it might be for quite a while. Who knows? Doesn't matter. My teacher, that fellow, used to say that if you sit for an hour, you might have just a few minutes of awareness when you're not thinking. That's fine. It doesn't matter. It's all to the good. So you just come back. You come back to the awareness of this present moment and of the breath going out into it. You see the thoughts. You're giving up all kinds of piety, all kinds of ambition, all kinds of idea of achievement of any kind. If you think you're achieving something, you're not. Then you're caught up in that particular little story of spirituality. So we're giving up that too. And we're just coming back to the breath. The point really is to be cognizant of and present for one's life. That's all.
I think, in everyday life, for me, it's very hard to just sit down, and the first few minutes is extremely hard to, it's the momentum of the thought that I carry before coming here. And it's like a train running, and it's hard to just stop it right there, without stop.
Right.
And so the first few minutes is really hard for me to just calm down. And but I think for me the most important thing is that I believe this is good. It's like I read somewhere, it's like human beings are not your brain is not supposed to handle two things at one time.
Your what?
We are not made. Our brain is not made to handle two things at one time. So therefore, every time when we have to handle multiple tasking, we're actually losing our ability to concentrate and to the progress. So with that also, in the back of my mind, I know this is good, like good, and I just trust having faith in the practice, and that when I go through the first few minutes of trying to stop my train of thought, and then I'll come down, and after that I can go into it more better. But I
Okay.
truly believe that in the whole day you only have two, because you've been running your train, so it's speeding up for quite some time before you actually can sit down, and to have a few moments of that kind of quietness and peace is very precious.
Yeah, there's a lot we could talk about with that. there's some tricks for helping you with that first difficult moment when you begin to meditate. And one of them has to do with routinizing your practice. It comes kind of Pavlovian, like Pavlov's dogs. I find that when I sit, I ring a gong, and there are some chants that I do. And as soon as the gong goes, and as soon as the first word comes out of my mouth, I come back. I've been trained, over some time to do that. And so there are things that we could talk about, little things. Routinizing the practice helps a lot. The main point about meditation practice is that what you're coming back to is effortless. The awareness is effortless because it's what we are. It's our fundamental nature, each one of us. And so we're just letting go of the effort to be something that we think we have to be. And when we do that, here we are. We're just right here. This is where we live. So it's really learning how to relax into what one already is. So let's practice for a little while. You may have thoughts, that's fine. Just keep seeing them. Give up any notion of spirituality or self-improvement and just do the technique of, let's ring the gong and I'll just start guiding the practice again, and then we'll just do it for about 10 minutes. So everybody's got a good posture. And with your mind relaxed in this space, eyes open, gaze natural. There's nothing that can happen in this room that isn't part of your practice. You just let your awareness rest right here. And in the middle of that, the breath comes up, exits your nostrils, goes out into the space like a line, dissolving. And at the end of the breath, you just let go. And then the breath comes up again, exits the nostrils, goes out like a line, dissolving as it goes. And at the end, you just let go. Thoughts come and go, and that's fine. You see them, and when you see them, you're no longer caught in them. And then the breath comes up, exits the nostrils, goes out into the space, dissolves, and we're just right here.